Hello, my name is Angela Green, and I'm going to start right in on what I'm doing right now. I'm adding clouds to the painting, the beach path, and it's going to be over the ground color, which is phthalo blue, ultramarine blue, and mostly titanium white. But right now I'm going to do the clouds starting in the left-hand corner. They start out dark clouds, and the combination is titanium white, phthalo blue, quinacridone magenta, and those colors go from a pinkish purple to a bluish purple depending on how much blue you put in there. So I'm adding blue and I'm adding white because I want them to be a little bit on the darker side. And I'm not dipping my brush in the water most of the time I'm doing the clouds. At times I do just wipe off the paint off my brush to get a whiter white. Most of these clouds you'll see are cirrus clouds, or the kind that look like streaks in the sky. But I do add some fluffiness to give them some depth. And then when they're dry, I'll revisit them to soften the lines up a little bit and add some highlights. So when you see them again, you'll probably have a better view of what's going on in that left corner. So here I'm adding the whiter clouds. The painting ends up being a little bit brighter than you would think from the start of it. And I'm doing a little bit of blending as I go. Clouds are layered. I don't know if you've ever been in an airplane, but you'll see layers of clouds looking down. They are stacked on top of each other. So to give that kind of appearance in a painting makes it look more realistic. To have some that look like they're more in the distance and some that look like they're closer to you, different elevations. That's really how a cloudy sky looks. So I'll be adding some more whiter clouds. Clouds, I don't like them to be pure white, and that's one of the reasons why I don't really wash my brush off. It makes it a little bit easier to blend. Now, originally, this video was a live video, and it was with the group Painting with Fibromyalgia. The Facebook group had joined me, some of them, and some were painting and some were just chatting. But because I had new equipment, my audio failed because it wasn't really correctly set up, completely set up. So that's why this one is a voiceover. And rarely do I do that because the energy, it's fun to feel the energy when the group is there and it's live. So parts 2 and 3, this will be 3 parts. Parts 2 and 3 will be live. So you might want to join us then because those are a lot of fun. And we'll be chatting and laughing and answering questions and asking questions about what I'm doing. So try to be there for the live. And if you hit subscribe and hit the little bell, you'll get a notification of when that's going to be. But so far, it looks like part 2 will be next week, the week of the 20th. Let me see, the week of the 22nd. And this is October. So it'll be the week of October 22nd. Right now, this cloud is looking more like your typical cirrus cloud going upward. and then I'm bringing it down toward the water. Later on in the painting, I'm going to make more of a separation between the clouds and the water. And that way it'll be so much easier to break up the clouds a little bit and make them look more natural, because I'll be painting blue into the clouds. So you'll get to see what that looks like. I'm adding some fluffiness to give the clouds some depth. And then later when I come back, I'm going to soften up the lines and add highlights, like I said, especially to the part that's the darker, the grayish looking clouds. I'll be highlighting those a little bit. Thank you for joining me. If you like this video, if you like what you see with the painting, there are other paintings in the playlist. So there's other paintings that have water in them. There's one with the swan, and there's also paintings of landscapes, trees, birds, all sorts of things. You'll see Pumpkin Patch is one of my more recent ones for the fall, recent ones. So you'll be able to see all of these paintings are done in real time. And I try to paint in a way that's relaxing. There can be some varying of your painting from what I'm doing, and that's intentional. That's to keep you relaxed, keep your muscles relaxed, not feeling like everything has to be exactly the same. The only thing that I'm going to be exact with is dividing up the painting so that you'll know what part is the sky and what part is the water, and then what part's going to be the sand. So that's going to be a little bit more exact. Most of the colors that I'm using in here are pretty much variations of the same colors. And that's going to be titanium white, phthalo blue, quinacridone magenta, and then later we're going to be adding some yellow ochre, some cadmium yellow, and maybe a hint of burnt sienna if I needed to darken up something. But that's pretty much it with this painting. It's going to be a combination of those colors. So with those colors, you can get pretty much everything. You'll be getting your greens for your grasses. You'll be getting everything with those colors. They're listed under the description. Now here I'm talking to my group, getting a feel for who's painting and at what point they are in the painting, and if they have any questions. So because I don't have sound, I'm communicating with them via chat. And the chat's going pretty fast because they're having a great time. So I'm getting a feel for where they are, and if they have questions or want to know what colors I'm using and so forth, then that's how we're communicating. Typically, they ask the questions or make the comments, and I respond to them audibly. So again, if you're just joining me, I am Angie Green. I have a Facebook group, Painting with Fibromyalgia. And this channel is dedicated to those who have chronic pain and like using art as their way of coping with the discomfort. However, this channel is open to the public, so you don't have to have pain to join us and paint or paint any of the videos on here. And here is where I'm measuring where to start the water and answering questions at the same time. So the water starts at 6 inches. And I'm getting a feel for where to put the rest of my clouds, or if I want to add anything else in the sky and so forth before I add the water into the scene. Trying to conserve paint a little bit. Although you'll see me dip the dark into the white. That's a no-no, but I know I'm going to be using it up for the most part anyway, so I think the only thing that I've completely wasted on here is that big wad of yellow ochre, because I really won't need that much yellow ochre for the water. So if you're looking at how much I'm using, go easy on the yellow ochre. You just need a touch of it for some of the water. Okay. So a lot of people suffer from chronic pain. Fibromyalgia is one of them. Fibromyalgia has what's called diffuse pain, and that means pain all over, not just pain in one place. Although if you have arthritis or any other pain type problem, fibromyalgia just intensifies it. So if you stub your toe, you know what that feels like, and you have fibromyalgia, then it's going to be more painful than the typical stubbed toe. But fibromyalgia is generally an achy, flu symptom type achiness. And when it's bad, it's called a flare. And then you also have these parts of your body that feel very tender to touch, as if they're bruised, even though they're not. So being comfortable is a bit of a challenge because you can't stay in one spot for too long, one position and too long. You can't lay in one position too long. So it becomes a bit of a challenge. And I have vlogs, fibro vlogs, also on the channel for those of you who want to understand a little bit about fibromyalgia, because it is a very common condition. So if you know anybody that has it, you want to understand a little bit more about it, you could check out any of the vlogs that I have up, and I will be adding to those in time. Other people have chronic pain that's not fibromyalgia, and they also like to cope with their pain using art and being able to talk to people that understand. And that is why they are also included in the group. So they're enjoying the group too. They've stuck with us because pain is pain and chronic is chronic, which means it's not going to go away. So anybody that has any kind of chronic pain can join the Facebook group Painting with Fibromyalgia. It's a private group, and we ask you a few questions to see if this is actually the group that you're looking for. And then we will approve you as long as you're a good fit. And by good fit, we look for people who are going to be kind, and it is a family friendly group, and this is a family friendly channel. So as long as there's no problem with any of those things, please join us. And I think you'll find a very supportive, encouraging group. Now, with these paintings, most of them we break up into parts so that we're not sitting for long periods of time. And this is going to be part one, the sky and the water. And then later we will be adding part two and possibly part three, depending on how long part two goes. And that's going to be the sand, which is going to have a lot of shadows and shading and that kind of thing. And we'll be adding grass, and we'll be adding some birds in the sky and just tweaking the painting. So it might end up three parts, the sand, and also we'll also have some of those posts in the sand and so forth. So we'll see how it goes. Stay tuned. And if you hit the little bell, then you will know when another part of this painting comes up. The clouds is about the most difficult part of this painting, this segment of the painting. When we put the water in, it goes really fast. The back part is the greenish color, and that water is going to have more little waves in it. And then the front part is going to be a salmony color, and that's kind of where it looks like the tide is coming in and the water is see-through, and that's going to have some little titanium white lines in it too, but I go back into that to flatten that out a little bit because I don't want that to be too wavy. So right there I dipped into my cad yellow with that brush that I had that had blue still in it, and that's how I got that really pretty green. So that's going to be that first section of water close to the top. And when I put that down, the very top edge of that water needs to be very light, so very light color. So a lot of the elements of this painting is the opposite of what we usually see in our paintings of the ocean. It's quite interesting. And my husband was saying he really liked it because we just came back not long ago from Australia. We were on the ocean, on the beach at the ocean a lot. And this reminds him so much of where we were in Australia. And I didn't really think of that, but it is true. It does. I picked this painting out way before that, but it really does remind me of how the water, how the ocean looked, and how the sand dunes looked when we were there. I'm trying to make sure that I have 6 inches all the way across, because with the ocean, it's more of a line. It doesn't vary too much. You're not going to see dips and hills or anything in the ocean. So it needs to measure the same all the way across, which I have trouble with sometimes. uh, and then I'm going to be adding my green. Trying to lighten it up at that very top edge. Now at this point, my husband's in the room and I'm asking him, is this a straight line? And he says, no. Uh, so I was just hoping at this point. Now I have to go back in and it will be later when you can't see me, and I'll be putting more of my darker. I kind of gotten rid of my lights and darks, just putting the waves in. I'll be going back into that and putting my darks back in. So I'm letting you know now the corrections that I made since I first put this layer on. That part of the water is really supposed to be the rough part of the water. So that's why I'll have to go back and put that darker green in there. The colors turned out nice and soft, the soft colors that I really, I don't know, I was pleasantly surprised that they were as soft as they were. And then under that, I'm going to be putting in my sandy shore, my wet sand color. And that's going to be more of that's where the yellow ochre comes in. It's going to be yellow ochre and just a tiny touch of the quinacridone magenta. And I end up going back in there to smooth that out, to do the opposite of that top part of the water. I have to go back in and I'll be smoothing that out a little bit so that that part of the water is not as rough. I'll be getting rid of some of the white lines that you'll see me put in. I have my laptop behind me that I'm checking for a reference every now and then. So right underneath, it's going to be that tannish color. Pinkish tan, I keep calling it, kind of a salmony color. So again, that's white, yellow ochre, and quinacridone. Now that's a hard color to match once you get done with that color and go back in there. Boy, that's not one of the easier ones to match up. This yellow ochre is kind of transparent. And then this is going to be the last part of this segment. After I put some titanium white lines in here to give it some of the water coming up toward the shore, coming up on the shore. And then, like I said, I have to go back in there and I'll be darkening that back up. A lot of tweaking involves putting in your lights and your darks. And so that's just about it. I really appreciate you stopping by to visit. Stay tuned for part 2 and part 3. And it has been a pleasure. Enjoy the rest of your day or night. And hopefully I'll see you in our group.